billion-dollar company and we're moving it to your hand and saying, we're shutting down all of our stores. You take it and distribute it. Isn't it the opportunity just starting right now? Isn't it exciting? Yeah. And you know that there is already a foundation. The product, people already like it. They buy it. The price is there. Actually, now we're selling it for half, so for sure it's there. Okay, the foundation is there. 15 years of operation. We've gone through our problems. We've gone through the test of time. We had our challenges, and we built a community that is based on faith, culture, and values of relationship. Do you see what I'm talking about right now? So you have something that was never done before. We've never in the history of relationship marketing, an organization, a company, a product that was sold for $1 billion decided to shut down their stores and give it to the people hand to be able to distribute it. That's the opportunity that you are looking at today. That's the potential of the local market and what you can go with it. You know, it's not only that we are successful implementing that in the US. We are right now number 6 company in Korea, only in 1 year. I want you to understand that. And I'm saying that, you know, we have our Crown Royale from there, 7 crowns, over 8 people doing over 25,000 a week over there. And it's not about that, it's about the understanding that when you have a successful concept, you can duplicate and implement the same success in every country that you go. Because we already know what kind of products will feed the Asian market. We already know what kind of products will feed the South American market. We've been there for the last 15 years. We've sold these products. And now you have the opportunity from here, from Houston, and I want you to look at this room. This room is so small for a market like that. You know, and I'm looking at this event as if we're launching the Houston market. Yesterday I saw the leaders, I understood what type of values we have here in town, what is the culture, what is the talent that we have in the room today. I know how big it can be. And let's make today's event as the launch, the official launch of the Houston market. And next time when I come to visit you, I want to make sure that we have thousands of people in the room. And it's going to happen, with or without you. The question is if you believe in it so much, if you understand that this is an opportunity for you to change your life, but more importantly, to change people's life that you know need this opportunity so much. Okay? And when we're looking at global expansion, because we're talking about the local market, if you really want to be able to expand globally, the first thing that you have to do is to be successful in your current market. You know, we are working globally, and I see what type of leaders are successful when they go and open other countries. They are the leaders that say, you know what, as a foreigner, as an immigrant, or as a local person from America, I was already successful in my own neighborhood, in my own community. I was able to help people. Let me show you what I did for my friends. And now I come to a new country, and that's the way to be successful. Okay? So again, let me just share with you a little bit about the story. And I started with the opportunity first, because I want the people, the guests in the room, to understand what exactly this old secret story that you're part of. I don't know if somebody dragged you with their hand to come over here, or you came because you were doing it as a favor. Maybe it's not for you, that's okay. But I know that if you hear that, if you understand the potential, if it's not for you, for sure you know somebody that will appreciate this opportunity, right? Right. So let me just share my story. And through my story, I want you to know, I don't know much. I have only one story. That's my story. I'm very fortunate to be successful today because of the people around me. I learned few lessons in the last 15 years that I hope you can take from that, because I don't know much, but I know that these are the things that help me. So maybe it can help you too. You know, I was born in Israel. My family came from Israel. As you know, Israel is a small country in the Middle East. Everybody is fighting over it, and regardless of the situation, as an Israeli citizen, you have to go to the military. Now, it's mandatory service, but the government called it volunteers, so they don't have to pay us. So we're volunteering to the military. We're doing it for 3 years. We don't make money in the military. And I'm sharing it with you because I want you to think about it. You go to high school, you don't make money in high school, right? Your parents support you. You go to the military, your parents support you again. And when you finish that at the age of 21, now your parents look at you and say, do something with yourself. You know? It's not enough that for 3 years you sacrifice your life, you lose many friends around you in this hectic situation, and now you have to start your life. You want to go to school? My parents, they didn't have money. 6 brothers and sisters in a 2-bedroom house. You know, we didn't have money for my brother to go to medical school. He wanted to be a doctor, but we didn't have the money for that. So my older brother, Moti, he was looking for something that he can do right after the military. And he wasn't really willing to do the temporary jobs in Israel. So he started making phone calls and looked for opportunity, and then he heard that there are a group of Israelis that selling ice cream in Houston, Texas. Okay? And they're selling ice cream on ice cream trucks. And he heard that if you work on an ice cream truck, you can save $100 a day. And you know, just you rent a truck, you buy your ice cream from the store, you know, because you don't know the suppliers. You buy it from the store and you drive in the neighborhood and you just sell it to kids, and then people don't want to buy your ice cream and you make $100 a day. So my brother would never do that in Israel. It's embarrassing to work with an ice cream truck in Israel. He doesn't want no friends to see him like that, but nobody knew him over here in Houston. So he took the flight, he started working in Houston, Texas on the ice cream truck, making money, and that was his story. He wanted to save enough money to be a doctor. The deal was 6 months and I'm done. So he's working for 6 months. We are waiting for him to come back, and my brother is not coming back. After 6 months, he decided to buy his own truck, to stop leasing it because he made money. He said, maybe I can save more. Another 6 months goes by, and he buys another truck. And he started building his business, right? And my parents, you know, I don't know if you know the Israeli culture, but it's similar to some of the Asian culture. If you're, I know everybody wants to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, whatever it is. And my brother, he is the pride of the family, the oldest brother. The future doctor is an ice cream truck driver. I want to understand that. My parents are crying every day, begging him to come back and start his school. But he's excited. He's excited, I tell you why. What my brother learned in this 6 months that he worked on ice cream truck is that being free, okay, being free, not working for anybody, work for yourself. And I want you to know something about freedom. I want to know something about freedom. I thought that if you're going to quit your job to do something else, let's say to own your own business or have a home-based business, you would do that only if you make more money. That's what I thought. So why would somebody quit a job of security for less money? That doesn't make sense, right? But what I learned is people will do that for less. Because they can really literally own their life. They decide when they wake up. They don't give report to anybody. As much as they work hard, they see the results of their hard work. Yeah. And it's funny because they're going to work harder now because they do it for themselves. Nobody tells them what to do. They work harder for less and they're happy. And I didn't know that. I thought, no, you have to make tons of money outside. And my brother was one of these people, and he was happy about what he's doing. He's not coming back. He forgot about his dream to be a doctor, and my parents are about to commit suicide in Israel. And in this time, I was in the military too. I decided to stay after the 3 years of mandatory service. And after 3 years, they pay you. They pay you actually pretty well. I was a pilot in the military. I was flying jets. And then I was recruited to a special intelligence forces. And I was happy. I was kind of a secret agent, you know. I was doing my thing. I was dreaming. I was living a dream that I always wanted to be in this unit, you know, this thing that I always heard about. Now, the funny part is that they pay you really well after you start for 3 years. And I made more money than my brother working here in America. But I didn't want him to know, right? Because he thought that he's like the owner of a business, he's very successful. And every week he would call me and say, Isaac, you have to come and join me to Houston, Texas to work on this ice cream project. And why would I leave a position in the military? I'm presenting operations to the Prime Minister every day. You know, making more money than my brother. Why would I leave that to go and work on an ice cream project? So I didn't really want to do it, but I would say maybe. And my brother would convince me to do that because when we were young, we used to fight a lot. He's bigger than me, smarter, he would beat me to death. You know, really, I was crying every day, and I would come back home with scratches and bruises, and my parents always scream at me. I didn't know why, because he was smarter. He knew how to talk to my parents, so I got all the punishment, and he would get to be the king, right? So it was so bad that I left my parents home for a year to stay away from him. I lived in my uncle's house because I couldn't get along with my brother. Now, my parents were very sad about it, you know, and my dad told us, if one day you will work together, as brothers, as my oldest sons, I will do everything for you. So my brother would try to emotionally to influence me and say, we promise our parents, come and join me for the business. You know, it's fun to work on an ice cream truck. Give me all these things. And he was saying, we can reward our parents for everything that they've done. Let's retire our parents. So it was hard for me to say, what are you talking about? I'm not coming. I said, maybe. And then after 7 years in the military for me, 3 years that I hadn't seen my brother, who was working on an ice cream truck over here in Houston, I decided to take 4 weeks vacation. I was elected to a special job in the intelligence forces, and I signed up for 5 more years. Now, I'm done. That's my career, that's what I'm doing, and I come to visit my brother. I called him, I said, Moti, I'm coming. He thought that I came to join the business, right? But I didn't want to say anything. I said, Moti, I'm going to talk to you in Houston. So I landed here in Houston with KLM flight. After 25 hours of flight, my brother came to pick me up. He was so excited. We hugged, we kissed. You know, we hadn't seen each other for so long. And then he takes a key of the car from his pocket and said, Isaac, take this car to Corpus Christi tonight, because one of my drivers is not feeling well and somebody has to work with the ice cream truck. Now, I'm saying to myself, maybe it's a time to tell him I'm not here to do the business. So I'm kind of confused, and he looked at me and he screamed at me and said, what kind of a brother you are? The guy is sick, nobody's going to work on the truck, somebody's going to steal my route. If I don't, you know how ice cream truck routes work? There is no like city rules for that, okay, just so you know. You operate the route, it's a respect situation. Nobody's going to touch your route, but once you don't operate the route, guess what? It's gone. Somebody else can take it and it's yours. And he's giving me all these rules, and my head is hurting, and after 25 hours of flight, I'm tired, and I'm saying, okay, I need to do something, but he's screaming at me, right? So I told myself, okay, this is my brother. Now, it was my first vacation since I was 18. I wanted to understand it. First vacation, 7 years in the military, except for weekends, I never had any vacation. But I'm saying, okay, it's my brother. Even if I'm going to work a few days on this ice cream truck, I just told my brother it's okay. So I'm saying, okay, Moti, but I need to talk to you because I want to tell you why I'm here. He's excited. I'm driving to Corpus Christi to work with ice cream truck. Now, you know how it is with this music in your head and everything, you know, I hated it. I really hated it. And more than everything else, it made me think about my life. Because you sit in this truck, the music is in the background, you drive 5 miles an hour, the kids are running all over the place, and you start really thinking about your life. Anyway, it was supposed to be 5 days, and you called me back only after 12 days. Half of my vacation was working on ice cream truck in Corpus Christi. And I'm so excited, finally I have to get, because I was embarrassed to tell my brother that I'm not going to stay with him. I couldn't really deal with it, so I just waited for him to call me. I'm going back, driving back to Houston, singing, happy about the situation. Finally, it's over. To find out that the biggest disaster of my life just happened. When I drove to Corpus Christi the same night, my brother actually called my parents. And he told my parents, he said, Dad, Mom, me and Isaac, we're working together now. We're going to build the business, and we're going to retire. And my dad told my brother, what are you talking about? Isaac is in the military. He said, no, Isaac right now is in Corpus Christi in training, right? He's training under brother. And we're going to do it for you. For you. He's telling my dad, right? We're going to build the business for you. We're going to retire you for everything that you've done for us. So my dad was very emotional because he thought that I decided to quit my military service, the thing that I liked so much, so I can retire my parents. So he was emotional about it, so he told my brother, so what I can do for you? So my brother said, we need money. We're going to retire you, but we need money now, Dad, because the business is not enough for me and Isaac. So he thought that my dad is going to send us, $5,000, $7,000, whatever it is. My dad told me, let me think about it, and my parents made a decision that changed my life. They decided in the same day to put their house for sale. They put their car for sale, their furniture, everything that they owned. They liquidated their life, literally. They took my brothers and sisters, they bought tickets, flight tickets for everybody, and they called my brother a few days after. He said, we're joining you and Isaac, and we're going to all build the business as family. So you can imagine when I came back, for me it was the end of the world. This is it. Now